Retention for mobile apps. What if your app gets thousands of installs, but most users disappear after the first day? Today, installs alone don't guarantee growth. Traffic is more expensive, tracking is more limited, and if users leave before they experience real value, even the best acquisition campaign won't pay back. That's why retention is no longer just another metric. It's the main indicator of your product's health. Hi, I'm Anna, an ASO specialist, and today we'll talk about retention, not just day 1, day 7 numbers, but as a system of value delivery. In this video, you'll learn what retention really means, how to diagnose problems using lifecycle stages and retention curves, how to measure correctly in 2026, and how to fix the most common retention issues step by step. Let's start with foundation. About retention. When teams talk about retention, they usually mean numbers: day 1, day 7, day 30. You open your analytics dashboard and see percentages. But before we talk about value stages or growth systems, we need to understand one thing clearly. What do these metrics actually show and what do they not? Because if we misunderstand retention at the metric level, we'll misdiagnose the product. So first, let's break down what retention metrics really measure. Step 1. What retention metrics actually show. To understand users' behavior, teams look at retention metrics. Day 1, D1, users who return 1 day after install. Day 7, users who return after 7 days. Day 30, users who are still active after 30 days. These are behavior metrics. They answer one simple question: do users come back? They show when users stop returning, but they don't explain why. And that's where many misunderstand retention. Step 2. Why retention is not about days. Users don't think in calendar days. They don't wake up and decide to return because it's day 7. Users return only if the product keeps delivering value. So retention isn't about time. Retention is about repeated value delivery. Day 1, day 7, and day 30 are just markers. They show when users leave, but they don't show what failed in the product. And that distinction is critical. Step 3. Common mistake. Many teams react to retention like this: our day 7 dropped, let's send more push notifications. But that's a mistake. A retention drop is not the problem itself. It's a signal that somewhere in the product value was not delivered or delivered clearly enough. So instead of asking what's our day 7, the better question is at which stage of value delivery are we losing users? And that brings us to the core model. Lifecycle, not by days but by value. Retention isn't one metric, it's a sequence of value stages. When users churn, it usually means something broke between these stages. First value. This is the first moment users experience a real benefit. In the first session, they're asking, is this worth my time? For example, fitness app completing the first short workout, editing app saving the first edit photo. Metric here is the percentage of users reaching the key action in the first session. If they don't reach value, they leave. Second, repeat value. Now the users come back and repeat the core action. They are testing, was that first success real? For example, a mobile game playing several times to unlock something new. A productivity app creating multiple tasks, not just one. Metric here is the repetition of the core action in early sessions. If repeat value doesn't happen, the app gets forgotten. Third, habit. At this stage, the app becomes part of a routine. For example, marketplace, checking daily deals. Fitness app, training every week. Finance app, logging expenses regularly. Metrics here are active days and WAU, MAU, weekly active users and monthly active users ratio. Now let's explain that simply. WAU, MAU ratio means what percentage of your monthly users are active weekly. If 100 people use your app in a month and 40 of them use it every week, your WAU-MAU ratio is 40%. The higher this ratio, the stronger the habit. If habit is weak, retention slowly declines over time. Fourth, monetized value. Now the users is ready to pay because they understand the value. This could mean subscription, in-app purchase, watching ads. Metrics here are conversion to payment and ARPU. ARPU stands for average revenue per user. It shows how much revenue on average each user generates. If monetization is disconnected from value, you may have strong engagement but weak revenue. Fifth, long-term value. This is your loyal core. For example, utility app, subscribing to remove ads after understanding its usefulness. Gain, buying extra lives after getting emotionally invested. Metrics here are LTV and retention of paying users. LTV means lifetime value. It shows the total revenue a user generates during their entire time in your app. This is where sustainable growth lives. These users stay longer, renew subscription, and sometimes even recommend your product. So here's the key idea. Retention problems rely about days. They are broken transitions between value stages. Retention patterns, diagnosis, example, and solution. Once you define the right metrics, you get numbers, but numbers alone don't explain anything. When you look at a retention curve, you'll not just see numbers, you'll see where value breaks. Each pattern tells you which stage of the value journey is weak and what to fix. There are 4 common patterns. First, sharp day 1 drop. First value problem. Users didn't reach mindful benefits fast enough. For example, a photo editing app asks users to register, confirm a mail, choose preferences before they can edit a single photo. To fix it, remove frictions in the first session. Allow guest access. Deliver a visible result within 30-60 seconds. Ask tasks-focused questions instead of profile questions. The goal? Reach first value as early as possible. Second, gradual decline over time. Habit is not farming. Users see value once, but have no reason to return. For example, a budgeting app works during the first use. The user adds expenses once, but receives no reminders, insights, or summaries. To fix it, build a repeat loop around the core action. Add reminders, progress summaries, or insights. Use trigger-based communication. Push enough nudges. Create recurring content or challenges. The goal? Turn one-time value into repeated value and repeated value into habit. Third, spikes after campaigns. Motivation is external. Users return only when pushed by promotions or events. For example, a game shows high activity during a holiday event. Once the event ends, engagement drops back to previous levels. To fix it, reduce dependency on campaigns. Straighten motivation inside the product. Connect features to ongoing users' needs, not temporary rewards. Design features that stand without discounts or events. The goal? Make users return because they need the product, not because they are pushed. Fourth, stable plateau. You have a core audience. A smaller group consistently receives value. For example, in a fitness app, many users leave earlier, but a smaller group continues training weekly for months. How to leverage it? Study your core users. Identify what makes value clear for them. Double down on features they use. Build loyalty mechanics, streaks, achievements, referral loops. Optimize monetization around this segment. The goal: protect and expand your loyal core. Retention problems rely random. They are broken transitions between value stages. Your job isn't to chase every metric, it's to find where value breaks and fix that stage first. Measuring retention in 2026. Everything we discuss sounds structured and logical, but here's reality. In 2026, we don't have perfect user-level tracking anymore. Privacy rules, platform limitations, attribution gaps. We mostly work with aggregated and cohort data. So instead of asking, what did these specific users do, we ask, how does this group behave over time? And this changes the way we analyze retention. That means we focus on cohort campaigns, proxy events, revenue cohorts. First, group analysis in new language. Groups are now the foundation of product analytics. We compare cohorts instead of individuals. For example, compare 2 weeks of new installs. Group A shows 50% higher day 30 retention than Group B. This tells us which campaigns, features, or onboarding flows work better. That's enough to make a marketing or product decision. Second, proxy events, measuring real value. Opening the app is no longer enough to say a user is retained. We track proxy events, actions that show the user actually got value. For example, reaching level 3 in a game, compelling the first workout in a fitness app, creating the first project in a design app, adding items to favorite in a marketplace. Even in aggregated data, if a cohort completes these events, you know onboarding and early engagement are working. Third, revenue cohort, the gold standard. Retention without revenue means nothing. Track LTV growth per cohort. Sometimes overall retention drops, but revenue stays stable because a loyal paying core remains. For example, a subscription app shows stable day 30 retention, but revenue per group stands decreasing. This signals a pricing, positioning, or value perception issue, even if engagement looks fine. Revenue groups connect behavior directly to business sustainability. A little summary. User level tracking is limited. We work with groups. Focus on patterns, not individuals. Use cohorts comparison, proxy events, and revenue cohorts to understand retention. The goal: don't just collect data, understand it and turn it into actionable insights. Retention isn't just day 7 or day 30 numbers. It's a system of value transitions, the journey users take from first experiencing your app to becoming loyal, paying, long-term users. By focusing on these value stages, retention becomes manageable and predictable retention leads to stable growth for your product and business. If this video was helpful, subscribe to our channel for more practical insights on ASO and mobile growth. We simplify complex topics and focus on what actually works.